If you're able to wrap your mind around that, there is almost nothing that you can't do. All of music theory becomes super clear and all of music's secrets just spill themselves out to you.
Ooh, let's go.
Oh, sorry. Didn't see you there. Hey, since you're here, are you interested in learning about music theory for singers? Well, one thing's for sure, even if you can't read music or don't want to learn how to read music, understanding a little bit about the way that music is put together is one of the best ways that you can improve yourself as a singer. And it is so important that I include this in a lot of the lessons that I teach. So some people might even be surprised. I don't just do vocal exercises and sing songs in lessons with students. Sometimes I'll even be quizzing them on little bits of music theory today, just because it's so important to understand. Now, before you get scared and start running for the hills and maybe click on like a Ken Tamplin video or something like that, I want to just tell you that music theory is just that. It's just a theory. It's just an idea about ways that music should and can work. It's not a guarantee. And for every guideline and rule that you learn about in today's video, there's going to be a million wonderful and beautifully melodic exceptions to that rule. So if you've ever felt like other musicians in your band or other musicians in general look down on you and dismiss you because, oh, he's just a singer, we're going to fix that right now. Now, let's start off with the good news. If you watch this video all the way to the end and you understand even a little bit about what I actually teach you, you're gonna understand the way that probably 99% of Western music works and how to sing it better.
I am 99% sure.
And it is my desire to keep this video super simple and general so that you can get the best idea and just toss the rest that you don't need. So first, I'm going to show you the 7 most common notes that you're going to find in 99% of Western music. And then I'm going to show you how you can actually build chords and use those notes and combine them to create chords based on those exact same things and the 4 most important chords that you need to know as a singer. You ready? Okay, let's get started. So let's start from the very beginning, and let's start really simple. For any given key, there are basically only 7 notes that you can sing. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but let it blow your mind for just a second. Because any given key that you're singing in, there are basically only 7 different notes that you can possibly sing. And we can even label those with different numbers. So for instance, like if we're in the key of C, we can sing like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we have the octave 1, and the octave, meaning 8, or the 8th note, is again just an octave above the original note that I sang, which was a C3 on the bottom, and then there's a C4 on the top, and then the notes and the pattern just repeats itself. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, and it just keeps going on and on and on like that. So in the key of C, we basically have 7 different notes. And we're just counting in the order of the alphabet here, but rather than starting from A, B, C, D, we're starting from C. So we just go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then we have C, and then it just repeats over again. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And in solfeggio, or in solfege, you're basically taking those exact same 7 notes and you're just assigning each of them an Italian syllable. So rather than 1 for your C, they just use do. So it'd be do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And those are all of the notes within the major scale that you can sing in the key of C.
But wait, what about minor scales? Like, all the music that I like to sing is really dark and minor.
No worries. In a minor scale, basically, rather than starting from the 1, we're actually going to start from the 6th note, or La in solfege. So if we're in the key of C, then the relative minor of that is A minor. And that's just because if we count down from the 8th note, or the octave, that'd be 1, 7, 6. So if we start from that 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that is what's known as a natural minor scale. And again, we can assign an Italian syllable to each one of those. So we would just be starting on La. So La, Ti, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La. And that right there is what creates a minor scale. And just understand that a minor scale is nothing but a major scale, but starting in a different spot. So rather than starting on the 1, like in a major scale, we're just starting from the 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So starting from that note, we're going to create a minor scale. La, ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. As I mentioned earlier, A minor is the relative minor of the key of C, where we don't have any sharps or flats, which we'll get to in just a second. But just follow me on this. So if we're starting from A, then again, we're going to just follow the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. And those are the notes that make up the minor scale. Pretty easy, right? Now, anytime you're singing a note outside of these 7 notes that I mentioned, so the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, anytime you're singing a note outside of those, say like any of the black keys, for instance, in the key of C, then we have what's called an accidental. And an accidental just means that you're basically singing out of the sequence of the major scale. So in the key of C, maybe if I sing a B flat, that would be called an accidental. Now, accidentals are almost always referred to as a flat or a sharp note. So for instance, if I'm singing a note B flat, mom, then that is a half step lower than a B natural. It's the key just directly to the left of it. And if I'm singing a C sharp, mom, then that is a half step sharp or a half step above a C natural. Mom, mom. And you can see it right there. Now, accidentals happen a lot in genres like blue, jazz, and rock. But even accounting for those accidentals, I still want to clarify that even if you count up all the accidentals in Western music, 99% of Western music is still made up of that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the octave. 1. And if you've got that, you've got a great place to get started. Now you see how each of the notes is divided in the major and the minor scale. Now I want to show you my absolute favorite thing about music theory, and that is chords. And I know it sounds a little strange because, as singers, we can only sing 1 note at a time, exceptions being maybe Layla Hathaway, who can sing like 3 notes at once. She's crazy. But for the most part, as singers, we're only able to sing 1 note at a time. So why do I really care about chords? I don't even really care about chords as a singer as more I do thinking about the context that you can create with the chords. And the context that you can create with chords is you can create lots of different moods with any single chord that you play. First of all, what actually is a chord? Well, a chord is a combination of 2 or more notes. Now, most people are going to say that a chord is made up of 3 or more notes. I'm going to go ahead and say 2 just because, Nirvana played pretty much only power chords, and if it's good enough for Kurt Cobain, it's good enough for me. Regardless of how you construct a chord, you can just pick any random 2 notes, and if you play them together, that's actually a chord. But over time and lots of music evolution, we found out that there are specific combinations of notes that sound really, really good together as chords. So the template that people have found is usually starting off with the first note of the chord that you're playing. So if we're playing a C chord, then the first note would be a C. The second part of the template to create a major chord would be called a major third. And the major third is just counting up from that C to 3. So C being 1, C, D, E. So that is my third. Those 2 together sound like that. Sounds kind of fun with like a choir. Now, the third part and the third ingredient that you need to make a chord is the 5th. And the 5th, again, is just the 5th degree of whatever chord we're playing. So if we're playing a C chord, then we would just count up to the 5th from C, where C is 1. So C, D, E, F, G, and that G becomes our 5th. Now you put the first, the third, and the 5th together, and it creates this beautiful kind of choral sound. Now that sounds really nice, right? That's exactly how you make a chord: a first, a third, and a fifth.
But what about minor chords? I mean, I really want to sound like really dark and really kind of sad.
Easy. If you want to make a minor chord, you basically take the same template to create a major chord: a first, a third, and a fifth, and you just, rather than making it a major third like a C, E, and G, you actually flat that third to make it a minor third, which would sound like this. That one tiny change in the note that I'm playing makes a huge difference in the way that it sounds. Sounds really dark and scary. Now, here's the coolest thing about chords. Remember earlier when I told you that basically 99% of Western music is made up the same 7 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or to make a minor scale, just starting from a different part of that pattern, but exactly the exact same notes. Well, chords work the exact same way. So for those 7 notes in any given key, there are basically only 7 chords that you can play, and they follow that exact same pattern. So again, if we go to our friendly key of C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then the octave, C, all of those notes can be extended into full chords like this. So if you know what those 7 different chords are, and you can start to train your ear to actually hear them and the difference between them, you can start to recognize the patterns that make up so much of Western music and memorize songs so much more easily. So let's go back for a second and figure out how this all works. So as I mentioned earlier, there are really only 7 notes in any key that you're playing. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now in the key of C, that's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and C at the top. Now you can take those exact same notes, that exact same pattern, and you can extend those to create chords based on each note of the scale. So in the key of C major, we have a C chord, D chord, E chord, F chord, G chord, A chord, B chord, and of course a repetition of the C chord if we want to. But what makes those chords really sound good within any particular key is a specific pattern of major and minor chords to make it sound and reinforce the sense of a key, in this case, C. So what actually is that pattern that kind of makes everything sound so major, like gives you all the choices of those 7 chords that you can play? Well, the pattern in general, if we're starting in a major key, would be major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, and major, which again would be the C. So just a repetition of the first one. So if you think of the 1 as being major, the 2 and the 3 being minor, the 4 and the 5 being major, the 6 being minor, and the 7 being diminished, you've got it all the way there. So if we overlay this pattern of major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished over the notes that we learned earlier, the C, D, E, F, G, A, B, then we've got all the chords that we can play in the key of C, and this is the really exciting part. That means that the only 7 chords that you can play in the key of C are C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and then C. Now, do you see how all of these chords are basically just extensions of the same 7 notes that I showed you earlier? If you're able to wrap your mind around that, there is almost nothing that you can't do. All of music theory becomes super clear, and all of music's secrets just spill themselves out to you. Now, we all know musicians are a little lazy, so rather than musicians saying, okay, so the chord is C major, D minor, E minor, F major, and etc. when they're trying to teach someone a new song, oftentimes musicians come up with a numbering system to kind of identify each of those individual chords. So just like we were talking about the individual notes of the scale being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, remember that all of those notes can also be extended into chords. So you might hear a musician say something like,
all right, boys, it's a 1645 in the key of C.
So in order to figure out what this musician is talking about, he's saying 1645, which means 1645 in the key of C. Now, we remember that we've got this C, D, E, F, G, A, B are the 7 notes that we can sing, and we also remember our pattern that the first note is major, second note D is minor, E, our third note, is minor, F, our fourth note, is major, G, our fifth note, is major, A, our sixth note, is minor, and B, our seventh note, is diminished. Then what we need to do is we need to just overlay that major-minor pattern over exactly what the musician said. So here's a pop quiz. A 1-6-4-5 progression in the key of C would be what? So if we're in the key of C, then we already have part of our answer. We know C is 1. So we've got the first part of our puzzle figured out. Now, in order to figure out the second chord, which would be the sixth, 1, 6, 4, 5, in order to figure out our sixth chord, we just need to count up 6 from C. So C, D, E, F, G, A would actually be our sixth chord. Now remember, the 2 chord, 3 chord, and 6 chord are all minor, based on the pattern that I taught you earlier. So that means that the second chord in this progression, the 6th chord, is actually an A, but it's an A minor. So far we have 1, which is the C major. Then we have the 6th chord, which is A minor. Now let's figure out the 4 and the 5. Let's start off with the 4. So remember, we're just going to count up from the key of C where C is 1. So C, D, E, F. That's what we know that our chord is going to start with. But is it a major or a minor? Well, if you remember our pattern that I taught you earlier, then F, the 4 chord, is going to be major in the key of C. Because we have C major, D minor, E minor, F major. So that major, minor, minor, major. So far we have this 1 chord, C major, then we have the 6th chord, A minor, then we have F major. All right, let's find out our 5th and final chord. Now, in order to find out our 5th chord, remember, we're just going to count up from C where C is 1. So C, D, E, F, and G. Now, is G going to be a major or a minor chord? Well, if we follow our pattern that I taught you earlier, where 1 is major, 2 is minor, 3 is minor, 4 is major, and 5 is major, then we know that we're going to have a 5 is a major chord, in this case, a G major. So put it all together and we've got sounds pretty nice, right? Now, I know we've covered a lot today, trust me, and it's totally fine if you need to watch this video a couple of times, slow things down, or speed up through areas that you already feel that you understand. But even if you understand just a little bit about what I've shown you, then let me show you what you can do with that. Do you remember how I told you that 99% of Western music is made up of those 7 notes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, or in the key of C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Well, here's the great news. If 99% of Western music is broken down into those 7 notes, well, 90% of popular music is built out of these same 4 chords that I just taught you. The 1 chord, the 6 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. To prove my point, whenever you see some of these YouTube videos about like 300 songs using the exact same 4 chords, these are the same 4 chords that we were just talking about.
Fantasy in my bed, on my rage, I am still just a rat in a cage. God was one of us.
So you can see how all of this is wrapped up into a nice little bow, and you can see how all of this music theory is related to itself. And more importantly, you can see that just by understanding a little bit about the way that music is put together and theoretically should be constructed, that you can really understand a vast majority of the music that's out there. Guys, I hope you found this video helpful. Make sure to hit like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, ding that notification bell to find out when I'm releasing new videos just like this one. Thanks so much and happy singing.